Raised in Houston, Texas, with 4 brothers by Goldwater Republicans.
I grew up in a pretty conservative family, or around conservative politics, and I never liked politics, never thought I'd be getting into politics. I was just basically interested in the entertainment industry and either television. I wound up working in live production for a number of years.
But a fall 20 years ago, when Lee was 27 years old, left him with a spinal cord injury. And the man who was once a roadie for Aerosmith found himself in a wheelchair and in terrible pain. You started using cannabis before it was medically allowed, legally?
Right. I did some research, actually, and found that there was early research showing that it helped spinal cord injury victims with the spasticity, the muscle spasms that come with spinal cord injuries.
And did you talk to your doctors about it back then and say, hey, I was just reading this could help me? What was their reaction?
A lot of the doctors would say, I understand that it helps you, but I can't go on record as, even saying that I talked to you about it, because back then in the early 90s, it was a lot more taboo.
His doctors weren't the only ones unsupportive of Lee's marijuana use. His parents were completely against it.
We had somewhat of a falling out, where I didn't talk with my parents for a while.
Then a year after his fall,
I was the victim of a carjacking back in Houston in 1991. And then what made me even more mad than being the victim of a robbery was that the police took a real long time to respond, over half an hour to get there. And, I felt that we have no police protection, and the way I looked at it is that the police were wasting their time looking for people like me and my friends who were cannabis consumers instead of going after the real criminals, the sociopaths and predators out there.
And was that sort of the moment when you decided to go from being a cannabis user to becoming politically active?
Right, exactly, yep. That's when I saw a mission, I guess you'd say it.
Now Lee's mission has its own war room, where volunteers work the phones, campaigning for Lee's dream of legalization.
Hi, my name's David. I'm a volunteer with Yes on 19.
And you can't miss this volunteer, 81-year-old Ann Lee. No coincidence about the last name. Ann is Lee's mom, fresh off the plane from Houston, campaigning for her son.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, dear.
What you working on?
I'm working on letters to Republican candidates in California.
Ann is perhaps the least likely person you'd expect to see drumming up support for legalizing marijuana. Remember, she wasn't supportive of Lee using pot after his spinal cord injury. But when his life changed, so did hers.
Up until 20 years ago, I thought it was awful. The weed of the devil. And
You used to think marijuana was the weed of the devil.
I believed all the propaganda that the government has put out about it in support of their drug war. And when Richard told us from his wheelchair that it helped him, I didn't want to believe it, didn't want to hear it. But believing in his integrity, I had to believe him. And then after a lot of prayer and research, his father and I realized that it was great medicine for him. I told him last night, I said, I don't know that I was the right mother for you. I'm very conservative, straight-laced, follow the rules. That's not Richard. Richard has always marched to a different drum.
And yet Ann now finds herself marching to Richard's drumbeat of legalization. She's been spending hours cold calling undecided voters.
We'll send you information from Oakland, California.
And writing letters to all the Republican candidates running in California's midterm election. While Mom courts undecided voters and Republicans across the state, Lee does have the support of Oakland's entire city council and each of the candidates running for mayor.
And it shows you how, locally this issue is not even controversial anymore.
Would you like the rolling papers for that?
Please.
And the proof, Lee says, is in the pot. You pay taxes right now based on your marijuana businesses.
Right. We've been paying sales tax for about 8 years now.
Any idea what that number totals up to?
We pay about $300,000 a year right now in sales tax. And then we pay at least that much, if not more, in payroll taxes. And then we have the workman's comp insurance, unemployment insurance, health insurance, state income tax as well as the federal income tax.
So you and the university and all the businesses have been very, very good for the state of California.
We're trying to do our part, because I do appreciate the streets and the police and the fire department. You know, I do think that paying taxes is a good thing, you know, and I'm proud to be able to pay my fair share.
Given the economic crisis in California, the state's operating $19 billion in the red. Lee says the Golden State could definitely use some more green. How do you believe Prop 19 would help California's economy?
Well, the California Board of Equalization has estimated that with a $50 an ounce excise tax, California would bring in $1.5 billion. And then there's also estimates of around $500 million for law enforcement savings.
So we're talking about a lot of money.
Yes, exactly. And then that doesn't even include all the indirect taxes that would be created from the jobs and other indirect businesses.
Do you think the time, given the economic situation in California, that the time for a measure like Prop 19 is now?
Yes, I see it being a lot like the history of when we repealed alcohol prohibition. That, you know, we had the Great Depression then, and now we have the Great Recession.
And when you ask him why he does it, why he puts himself out there every day, the shy and soft-spoken Lee has a very simple answer.
Believing in the righteousness of the cause.
And for you personally to dedicate your life to this cause, what have you had to sacrifice? What do you think you've had to give up to push forward with this?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to say there.
Do you think you've made some personal sacrifices?
We all do for everything we do.
But you're...
You're pushing now.
Oh, but I'm just really I know, but that's important. People want to know who you are.
It's about the issue.
Yeah, but...
It's not about me.
And that's just how Lee rolls, always steering the conversation away from himself and back to his life's work. Why do you think you've been so successful?
First of all, it's dumb luck, I'd say. Second of all, I've been fortunate to work with a lot of good people.
Yeah, you're a pretty humble guy. Don't want to take the credit.
Very proud of my humility.
He may be a rather reluctant frontman, but Lee continues to push tirelessly for legalization, for the principle and for the profit. Ultimately, California voters will decide. The latest polls show a very close race. While researching this story, we came across one medical marijuana clinic that combines cannabis and calories in ways we never thought possible. It's in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. A World Report crew stopped in to visit the Ganja Gourmet.
This is a vegetable pizza. This is jambalaya with medicated garlic bread, spinach pie, meat lasagna, chicken tamale, pot pie, Amsterdam space cake. That's our strongest, most potent item. I've been smoking marijuana since I'm 17, but I really only discovered edible marijuana about 7 years ago. I went and did some research, and what I saw was nobody was specializing in edibles, and that really is my passion. The recipe for the cheesecakes has been in my family for 2 generations already. However, the one I'm most proud of is my daughter. She's only 12 years old, and she brings home this chocolate chip cookie with orange peels in them. So she's like, "You should sell those in your place, Daddy." And I said, "You know, you're right." What we do is we extract the THC out of the marijuana buds. We extract that 20% THC and get into the butter, and then we put it, and then we cook with it. So our butter is much more concentrated and strong. So when you eat it, you're getting more THC into your system.
You know, the baklava is really, really good. I'm yet to try the pizza.
Initially, when we first opened, you could hardly taste the pot in it. You know, as the business has progressed, people want it stronger, cheaper, and smaller. Fortunately, though, people like the taste of it. You eat a lot of edibles? Yeah. You do. So you got a pretty good resistance, you think? Okay. Okay, if you think your resistance is high, try half and wait an hour. Because you know I eat a lot of edibles, and I only eat half of this. The one time I ate more than half of this, I was throwing up. So yeah, you don't want to over-medicate. Try a quarter to half. Everybody is different, and everybody's system is different, and everybody's reactions are different. It multiplies whatever the person is feeling. That's what's so great about marijuana compared to alcohol, is that you can really function and do things, especially edible, when you eat it, because you were more awake and alert.
You know, it really helps me with muscle spasms. I do edibles just because I have kids that are younger. They don't understand the medicinal purposes of it, and so this is a way for me to, you know, just have my medicine and enjoy something good to eat too. Is there a limit when I'm buying the edibles on how much?
At this moment, not really. It's processed differently, and for example, you can only purchase 2 ounces of medicine at a time.
Right.
But I mean, there's only 2 grams in your brownie, so
right.
I don't think you'd probably buy your entire refrigerator to get up to 2 ounces. That'd be a lot of edibles.
The marijuana munchies sometimes come on very strong. You know you're gonna order the pizza anyway, kill 2 birds with 1 stone, eat the medicated pizza, but after you eat the medicated pizza, you're gonna still be hungry. You will absolutely still be hungry, and you can't keep eating medicated food, and I can attest to that firsthand. My experience in that business has helped me with all my marketing. You know, I am using most of the same contacts. I'm using the same printer. I'm using the same graphic designer. I really never had a desire to own a restaurant, but I just couldn't. I had to do it because I knew I was just so unique and so new at it that I went for it.